What is up, everyone? And wow, that is a lot of response from my last video. I'm convinced that it's probably because I had the word incel in the title, and people were probably going into it thinking, "Oh wow, I'm gonna light him up because he's an incel." Oh wait a minute, he's actually being reflective, and that's ultimately like what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot meaner responses than that though, but it just goes to show that some people actually pay attention to the title and other people actually watch the video. So thanks for actually watching the video and listening before responding, because I was expecting people to just say, "You're an incel, you're a bad person," and it's like, read the title. It says I used to be one. And now I will say this though, there are some things that I will say, like, one thing I noticed is that, like, if we're being honest with ourselves, we don't necessarily always just completely wash away who we once were. So I might say something that's incel adjacent at some point, and you're going to be like, "Oh no, he still got it." And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to unlearn it. In order for me to unlearn it, I got to practice it less. You don't just quit. Some things you just don't quit cold turkey. So I'm just saying that to point out that if you hear something down the line that I'm saying, and it's like, "Oh wow, I'm getting weird vibes from him," just know it's just me slipping up and realizing, "Oh wow, I shouldn't do that again." With that being said, everything I know about celebrities, I learned against my will. And I once again, I'm very active on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. Not as much Tumblr, but still Tumblr. And it's like, like, I follow all of my friends. Well, most of my friends are Afrocentric, so it's like, they're black and they focus on black stuff, and sometimes black stuff involves black celebrity stuff. So like, for example, Beyonce's concert, right? I'm not a Beyonce fan. I don't hate Beyonce. I don't have anything against her, but I don't really like music like that. So, like, Beyonce is just another performer to me. You know what I mean? It's like she was a talented performer when I was a kid. I did like Destiny's Child. I really did. But when Beyonce went solo, I don't know. It was easier to not care for me. But, I'm not going to say she's a terrible performer or anything like that. It's just that, like, for me, it was never really, I wasn't a fan of when she dropped the other three, because I like harmonization. I like the idea of, a group singing together. I also, so it's like, people are talking about her, expensive concert tickets, and it's like, well, she's a superstar now. So it kind of makes sense for it to cost that much money. I mean, like, if she charged $40, y'all would be complaining about that. I mean, y'all would still go, but y'all would be complaining about the ticket price. Like, she knows she's worth more than that. You know what I'm saying? That would be there's just no impressing people. The same now. There's another thing that's been going on. Jonathan Majors he took a picture of himself with this feathery boa, and apparently, according to the photographer, I don't know if I got it right or whatever, but he was like, "I was a big fan of Don Quixote, Don Flamingo, and I wanted him to look like Don Quixote, Don Flamingo." And I read the manga, so it's like, why do y'all like this guy so much? Like, Don Quixote Doflamingo is a jerk. Like, he's a sociopathic jerk. Like, the fact that y'all like him is questionable to me. But then again, I just remember that for some annoying reason, people just love every supervillain. So whatever. Next up, and it's like, no, not next up. People are complaining about this picture. Like, it's feminizing him, it's emasculating him. My whole thing is that, like, here's the thing. Like, how is masculinity such a powerful thing that all men should just have? It's so powerful, it's so rigid, it's so strong. But every single thing a guy does is emasculation. You know what I mean? Either masculinity is fragile or is strong enough to overcome everything. It can't be both. You know what I mean? Like, if a guy, I'm seeing a trend nowadays. Like, guys are complaining about other guys painting their nails. You know what I mean? Saying, "Oh no, you're not a woman. Only women paint nails." And it's like, bro, guys put on makeup in movies. The same celebrities that you probably think are so awesome and manly and so tough looking in the movies that you watch, they put on makeup to present themselves in such a way. Are those guys also being emasculated? Like, come on, man. Like, stop. I'm bringing this up because there was another picture of Rihanna and A$AP Rocky. And once again, everything I know about celebrities, I know against my will. Because Rihanna has this, she took this picture, A$AP Rocky's holding a baby, and she's like this, and, and people are like, oh my god, you look at the positioning, and it's like, he's the weaker one, and she's a stronger one, and blah, 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 blah. Man, he's not really being a man right now, you know what I'm saying? Shut up, oh my god, like, this is what I was talking about in my last video about, like, why I didn't really go into the manosphere. Because they have discussions like this. Like, these are the discussions that these guys have. You know what I mean? It's like, have you ever took a picture before? Like, it's like, this is, like, a lot of stuff that's going on in the country right now. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of issues that's going on in the country right now. Despite, surprisingly enough, not even like by gender or whatever. It's just by your society and all this other stuff. And you got guys out here complaining about a picture because Rihanna looks too tough in comparison to A$AP Rocky. Like, shut up. Like, this are the conversations you guys are having. Like, it's hard for me to like go into any kind of community that talks about like being a man when y'all are complaining about pictures. It's like, what? I mean, like, Matt Gaetz somehow gets away with, Matt Gaetz, the Defecation of Justice decided to not charge Matt Gaetz with all the allegations that he had against him, even though they were working with one of his accomplices who was telling them everything. And I hear nothing from the same pro-man masculinity, I have daughters, guys. I hear nothing from those guys about that, but I hear them talk about a picture. And they're drawing all over it with their little lines and all this other stuff. And they're going into great detail as to why this picture is bad. And it's like, what? What is this, the 1930s where, like, that picture should be censored. Like, I can't do the toxic masculinity thing because at the very core, these guys are just a bunch of whiny children. They are crybabies. They are the biggest collection of whiny, like, complaining. Like, I complain. You know what I mean? I complain, I gripe, I whine. But at least when I complain, I gripe, and I whine about stuff that I feel like are actually kind of important. Like, I complain about the fact that, I've been working since I was 16 years old and I still can't afford a home. Or the fact that I complain about, like, stock market is basically just old people gambling to me. Or I complain about things that I feel have some kind of social relevance. These idiots are complaining about a picture of Rihanna. It's like, I think what really messes with me is that, like, guys who are hyperfixated on this kind of stuff are the same, they got, like, legions of people who support their stupid ideology. And when I was a kid growing up, there was a very, very popular statement. It was said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? Which, and this was said a lot when I was a child. I had to have been like 7 or 8 or something. And like nowadays, like, clearly that message didn't stick because now the internet is chock full of nothing but people who want to say, who genuinely want to be as mean and as callous and as stupidly cruel as possible. And it's stressing me out because it's like, we've managed to sort of like say, you know what, we should just ignore the bad person who does the bad thing. What y'all need to understand is ignoring bad things normalizes bad things. And there's no better example than the fact that, me griping about, stuff like people being rude or people being callous or people being sociopathic or people displaying terrible things. And people are just saying, well, that's life, man. No, that's not life. This is not normal. This is not stuff that normal people do. Like, what is going on? Like, why are we okay with this now? What is going on? What is going on? We're being okay with people being jerks right now. Like that's what we're doing because we spend our entire time just ignoring it. Like, imagine being on the other side of that, right? Imagine doing something terrible and people just don't respond to you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, right? You're doing something terrible and people just ain't responding. Then you're going to think there's nothing wrong with what I just did, so I'm going to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, ignore it. Come on, man. Like, this is like, I mean, apparently the same people who can ignore, like systemic racism or rampant stupidity, basic book bannings. What? People who can ignore these kind of things, the Ohio derailing, people who can ignore these things will not ignore a picture by Rihanna. By the way, Rihanna made news twice because she was pregnant at the Super Bowl, which is like, let me see if I got this right. Pregnancy, which is something that just about every woman is capable of going through. I say just about because there are some women who can't. So I'm not going to just like isolate them. But it's just like, like pregnancy is a common occurrence. But because Rihanna got pregnant, apparently it's like, wow, she's pregnant. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Something that's as common as pregnancy, because Rihanna got pregnant, is like newsworthy. But being a cold-blooded sociopath with cruel tendencies is just something that people should just ignore because that's life. No. If I sound like a rambling maniac, complaining about the most awkward of, disses and disrespect and people being crazy and people doing terrible things, if I sound like the craziest person in the room doing that, then I'm just gonna sound like the craziest person doing that, because I like to think that I follow that whole, if you don't like bad stuff, like if you got something mean to say, don't say it kind of aspect, well, I mean, people, chances are I'm going to probably get a whole bunch of, racists or right-wingers that's going to pop up and be like, well, you're not really nice to Republicans either. That's because Republicans are deranged sociopaths. Also, being a Republican is not necessarily who you are as a person. It's an affiliation you choose to support through certain I can't think of the word right, ideals or practices. Being you're not born a Republican. You pick that side after being indoctrinated into it by people who can't even tell you what the word republic means. Well, you're a Democrat, which I'm not. But that is that's something for another video. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this short. Love, peace, and happiness to every single one of y'all out there, and also. I definitely recommend practicing some sign language, because at some point I might actually, start signing some words. I think that's words. During some of my videos. So yeah, practice sign language. I know some sign language, but I'm not good at it. How was that?